Most people focus on the moment a pricing decision happens. The announcement. The new price tier. The limited time offer. The updated service rate. A company raises prices. A freelancer lowers their rates. A platform introduces a subscription. Everyone talks about the moment the price changes. But the real story doesn't start there. It starts the day after. Because pricing decisions are rarely about numbers. They're about behavior. Customer behavior. Market behavior. Competitor behavior. And those reactions don't happen instantly. They unfold quietly in the days, weeks, and months that follow. Today, we're exploring what really happens the day after pricing decisions. When the excitement fades. When the spreadsheets close. When the market begins to respond. Because pricing isn't just strategy. It's psychology, perception, and momentum. And sometimes the biggest consequences appear long after the decision was made. Let's start with the moment everyone remembers. The pricing decision itself. Maybe a company decides to increase prices to keep up with rising costs. Maybe a freelancer lowers their rates to attract more clients. Maybe a platform launches a premium tier, hoping to unlock new revenue. In that moment, the logic usually feels clear. Costs are rising. Competition is intense. Margins are shrinking. Growth is slowing. So the decision makers gather data. They analyze competitors. They study market trends. They run financial projections. And eventually, someone says, "We need to change the price." At the time, it makes perfect sense. A higher price might signal premium quality. A lower price might attract more demand. A new pricing structure might unlock new markets. From the inside, the decision feels rational. Even necessary. Because pricing decisions are rarely made impulsively. They're often backed by spreadsheets, forecasts, and strategy meetings. And when the announcement finally happens, the organization breathes a sigh of relief. The hard part seems over. But in reality, the hard part is just beginning. The day after a pricing decision is usually quiet. Nothing dramatic happens. Customers don't immediately disappear. Revenue doesn't collapse overnight. In fact, the first signs often look encouraging. Some customers accept the new price without hesitation. New clients may still come in. The numbers look stable. Sometimes they even improve. This early calm can create a powerful sense of reassurance. See? The market accepted it. Teams relax. Leadership moves on to the next challenge. And for a while, everything feels fine. But what many people don't realize is that pricing decisions trigger a delayed reaction. Customers don't always respond immediately. They observe. They compare. They reconsider. Some begin quietly researching alternatives. Others start renegotiating internally. Some simply wait until the next renewal cycle. So in the immediate aftermath, the decision may appear successful. But beneath the surface, the market is processing the change. This is where the invisible shifts begin. The ones that don't appear in dashboards right away. Customers begin to think differently. They ask new questions. Is this still worth it? Are there cheaper alternatives? Do we really need this service? Even loyal customers start evaluating value. Not because they're unhappy, but because price forces comparison. And comparison changes behavior. A freelancer who raises their rate might notice something subtle. Fewer inquiries. Longer negotiation cycles. Clients asking more questions before committing. A platform that lowers its price might see the opposite. More users. But also lower quality leads. Higher support requests. Different expectations from customers. Small adjustments begin to appear. Customers delay decisions. Competitors adjust their positioning. Sales conversations become slightly harder. None of these changes feel dramatic. But they slowly reshape the environment around the business. Pricing decisions don't just change numbers. They change how people think about value. And once perception shifts, everything else begins to shift too. The consequences of pricing decisions rarely arrive loudly. They arrive slowly. Sometimes months later. A client who accepted the price increase doesn't renew. A competitor launches a slightly cheaper alternative. A freelancer who lowered their rates becomes overwhelmed with low-value work. Revenue begins to fluctuate. Margins shrink. Customer expectations evolve. And when problems finally become visible, they often feel sudden. Leadership might say, "What happened?" But the truth is, nothing broke overnight. The signals were there the entire time. Pricing decisions often trigger compounding effects. A small increase reduces demand slightly. Reduced demand changes customer composition. A different customer base creates different operational pressures. Those pressures slowly change the business itself. By the time the impact becomes obvious, the system has already shifted. So why do so many organizations miss these signals? Because most people aren't ignoring problems. They simply don't see them yet. Human psychology plays a powerful role. There's confirmation bias. If the pricing decision looked good initially, people look for evidence that confirms it worked. There's overconfidence. Teams trust their analysis and assume the market will behave as predicted. There's process blindness. Organizations monitor the metrics they already track, but miss the subtle changes happening elsewhere. And then there's emotional investment. When a pricing strategy takes months of planning, it becomes hard to question it. Admitting a pricing decision might be wrong can feel like admitting the entire strategy was flawed. So teams keep moving forward, even when small signals suggest something is changing. Not out of stubbornness, but because the system encourages momentum over reflection. People with experience approach pricing differently. They don't judge a decision by the moment it's made. They judge it by what happens after. Experienced professionals ask different questions. Not, did customers accept the price? But, how did behavior change? They look for signals like changes in customer conversations, different negotiation patterns, shifts in sales cycle length, customer churn at renewal periods. They monitor competitor reactions. They watch how customers compare alternatives. They track subtle changes in who is buying. Because pricing decisions are less about immediate revenue and more about market positioning over time. Experienced professionals understand something important. A pricing strategy isn't finished when it launches. It's just entering its real test. The market itself becomes the experiment, and the results appear slowly. So what's the better way to think about pricing? It's not about avoiding change. Businesses must adjust prices. Markets evolve. Costs increase. Competition shifts. The lesson isn't don't act. The lesson is plan for the day after. When making a pricing decision, ask one simple question. What behavior will this change? Not just in customers, but in competitors, partners, employees, and even the business itself. Because the true impact of pricing isn't measured by the announcement. It's measured by the patterns that follow. The companies that understand this don't just set prices. They observe reactions. They adapt early. And they treat pricing as an evolving conversation with the market. Most decisions don't fail at the moment they're made. They fail in the days, weeks, and months that follow. Pricing decisions are a perfect example. Because the numbers may change overnight. But behavior changes slowly. And behavior is what ultimately shapes success. If this changed how you think about pricing decisions, that's the goal. Because understanding the day after helps you see what others miss. This is the day after. And next week, we'll explore what happens after service platforms expand too fast.